All right. So Tristan Tate has made a statement about his the original human trafficking case in April that sheds a lot of light on what we're looking at here in this current arrest and 30-day detainment. And I'm going to show you guys this video right now. I'm not going to bury the lead. I'm going to show it to you right out of the gate. And then I'm going to tell you some new information about that case, about the current case. I'll show you this. I'll tell you what I think as it relates to the impact on the current case. And then there's a bunch of other stuff relating to this case that we'll talk about now afterwards. But right out of the gate, let's look at this, and then I'll give you the new information about the case. Here is what Andrew Tate's brother, Tristan, says happened in April. And I'm just going to give you guys a spoiler. I believe him. This story sounds very, very true to me. But I'll tell you some other stuff about this story afterwards too, but let's watch it right now.
Girl had been at a party at my house, and her boyfriend saw her Instagram stories and said, "Oh my God, you're at the Tate Brothers' house in Romania." This was some American chick. And she went, I didn't want to come to this party. They made me come here and I'm not allowed to leave. So her boyfriend is obviously one of these believe all females. Oh my God, my girlfriend.
1 second, she wasn't even home.
She wasn't even home. He calls the fucking police and says, "My girlfriend's being held against her will by the Tate brothers." The police call the American embassy, and the next day, police come to our house. They search our house. They find no drugs. They find no women. They find no people. There's nothing illegal in the house. We're sitting there at the police station. The prosecutor says, "Yes, we searched your house." I'm like, "Oh, good. What'd you find?" "Well, nothing. But the report said that you were holding people hostage." I said, "Brother, there was no one at my house." He goes, "Yes, I know. But we checked the CCTV. I said, "What did you find?" "The girl who made the complaints was outside the gates taking pizza delivery and coming back inside." Ha ha ha. So I'm sitting there laughing. The police are laughing. The prosecutor is laughing. And then I went home. A girl had been.
Yeah. So that is, that's their side of the story of this thing in April. And, candidly, I got to be honest with you. That sounds very true to me. And the way that they told the story also sounds true. They threw in details, you know, the thing about the pizza delivery. They talked about, you know, and Andrew throwing in like she wasn't even hot, which is only notable. You know, the only reason that would be notable is because how did this happen in the first? Let's just assume that it's true, right? Like, I mean, you know, who knows? I mean, when I say I believe him, I'm saying, you know, my radar for reading people telling BS stories, which is very good normally, I would say is at, you know, 90% right there that I think he's telling the truth. Normally I would even have higher than that. I just know these guys are super smart and very clever. And some of the tells that make me think that it's true are things that you could, if you're extraordinarily careful and high level, you could intentionally do to fool smart people like me. But nonetheless, and I'm sure plenty of you guys also. Tell me in the comments, what do you guys think? You guys think that sounded true? Because it sounds very true to me. But, you know, like where he says she's not even hot. I mean, the only reason that's relevant is because he's saying like this boyfriend called the cops because she's at our house and she wasn't even hot. There was no chance that either of us were going to try to hook up with her because she's not even hot. That's the only reason that would be relevant. You know what I mean? So like, again, that's like a detail that rings true to me. And is this a plausible story? Of course. Of course, that's a plausible story. You have an American tourist in Europe with her friends with a jealous boyfriend who goes on Instagram and finds out that she's at the Tate brothers' house. And to which she responds, "I was brought here against my will and now I can't leave." Something like that, right? Now, I told Gabrielle, like I was talking to Gabrielle about this morning and I was like, okay, well, my problem would be with her lying. Like I would be like, oh, you got kidnapped to the Tate's house. I wouldn't call the cops. I would assume that my girl is lying, you know, if it was anybody but Gabrielle, obviously. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Oh, by the way, before we go forward really quick, I don't have a sponsor for this video. All I wanted to say is the agreement that I, pose to the viewers on this channel is if you're going to watch my content, please subscribe to the channel. I work really hard. I work full-time doing this now. I don't ask anybody for money. I ask that you subscribe to the channel if you're going to watch my content. It's a gentleman's agreement. And I watch my analytics. Everybody is doing it. And I really appreciate that. I really do. I wasn't really sure if people would actually do it, you know, when I say, because it's a one-way conversation. I'm like, look, it's a gentleman's agreement. I can't see you guys agree or not agree. But the analytics show that literally like everyone is doing it. And so thank you. Don't be the weird outlier. That's all. Screw you, Jesse on Fire. I'm still not going to subscribe. I'm just going to steal your content. Anyway, oh, and also go follow me on Instagram, Real Jesse on Fire. I do a lot of posts there. I'm on Instagram a lot, and I am shadow banned for sure. I gotta. We checked. It's there are features I can't use. I'm shadow banned because I posted a video of on Halloween. I was like, here's my Halloween costume, and I put on I had a Dios de los Muertos mask, and then I showed that I was going to be carrying on Halloween because I always carry. And they said I was inciting violence, and they took it down. So yeah, just showing that you have an everyday carry that is not allowed on Instagram. So anyway, but yeah, Instagram and then Twitter also, Real Jesse on Fire. I'm checkmarked there. That's a legit checkmark, son. Anyway, so and then Jesse on Everything is my other channel here. Sorry, I'm just vomiting stuff at you guys, but we'll continue to talk about this. But Jesse on Everything is my much better channel. That's where I talk about everything. The rest of this video is probably going to sound very much like a Jesse on Everything video. So if you enjoy the rest of this video, go over there. So anyway, so well, just finishing the thought that I was talking about with Gabrielle, it's I would assume that my girlfriend was lying, right? And what I would do in response, I wouldn't call the cops. I would just straight up not answer her calls for the next week or however long she's going to be in Europe. I would just vanish, I would be like, oh, you were taken there against your will. I would obviously validate that she ended up getting home okay that night. And I would be very cool and calm about it. And then I would just disappear. I would make sure that she understood that I suspected she was lying because she was lying. You didn't get kidnapped there, dude. Okay. The Tate brothers didn't kidnap you. I would make sure that she knew that I knew she was lying. And then I would just disappear. I would just not answer her calls for the next week or 2 weeks or however long she's there. So in response to her lying, she would get to spend the rest of her Europe trip, 70% of her entire attention thinking about what I might be doing and why I'm not answering and freaking the fuck out. So, sometimes less is more. Less is more. Imagine you're in Europe and your girl catches you in a lie, and then she doesn't respond to you for the next 7 days while you're in Europe. You would be wigging out. And that's what you do. And then when they come back, you don't even make a thing about it. You're like, oh, what was I doing? Well, I just assumed you were doing your own thing because, you lied to me. You were at the most notorious, trying to sleep with your girlfriend guy on earth. I would have thought you had more sense than to go to his house in the first place. But, once we saw you on your friend's Instagram story or your own Instagram story, you were obviously really proud that you were there. And then you say you got kidnapped there. So I just assumed you're doing your own thing. So that's what I did. But why weren't you answering my calls? I mean, you can't figure this out for yourself. I just told you. You lied to me. So that's what happens. Did you have a good time? No, I didn't know what you were doing. Well, I guess we've learned a lesson then, huh? Lie to me. Probably not going to have a very good time, in the future, in the near future, what you're doing, because you won't have any idea what the fuck I'm doing. Anywho, it takes discipline. It takes discipline to run shit that way. Anyway, so, yeah. So if there's no validity to that story, right? So if you really think about it and there's no validity to that story, which it sounds like there's not, then you have to come back to this thing in the last couple of days and really start to question, is it really that he went at Greta? Is it possible that he went at Greta and they really did this? Because if you guys think that there is not a way that the people who run Greta Thunberg are the most powerful people in the world. If you think that's not true, you do not understand the world that you live in. Okay. That is just an objective truth. How do you know who Greta Thunberg is? How do you know who Greta Thunberg is? Okay. She's an autistic teenager from some small European country who puts forward absolutely no solutions at all. Okay. She just goes around and says, you're living the globe in dire straits. There are not going to be any animals, no vegetation, and we're all going to die. Shame on you. Shame on you. You're all, what do you suggest we do? Stop using fossil fuels tomorrow. Oh, okay. So we could do that, Greta. That's it. I like your passion. I really like it. But there's one problem with us just not using fossil fuels anymore. And that's that 90% of the people on Earth will starve to death inside the first year. You know, I mean, there's that. There's the whole like 90% of the population will starve to death. It seems like a small blocker to your plan. You have any other ideas of how we could approach this thing? Solar, wind, and renewable energy. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. And how do you suggest that we go about building the infrastructure that would be required for solar, wind, and other renewable energy? With our hands. Okay. Because the point I'm making is you're going to need to use fossil fuels to do that. Okay. That is how we do everything. There is nothing that we do that does not require fossil fuels. So you're not giving any workable solutions. You're just yelling things. And you have to ask yourself, why are you being platformed everywhere? Why does everyone on Earth know who this, you know, Greenpeace little like screaming teenager is? Why? Okay. Because she's a tool of the elite class, the globalists that are using the climate change, you know, issue, the climate crisis to remake the world. Here is the truth about this though. Okay. Generally, when it comes to this topic, you have two groups of people. I personally fall into the third group, but this is a very rare group. Okay. The first group are the people who have never actually looked into what I'm talking about. And so to them, this sounds like nonsense conspiracy theory stuff. And you're like, okay. And these are people that you could just objectively say do not understand the world that they live in at all. Okay. They don't understand that there are like a handful of companies that own all of the media. They don't understand that there is a couple, you know, large investment firms that own basically every single thing on Earth. And they don't understand that what the messages that they're receiving are all tailored and calculated, which is why people who go against these narratives become enemies of this group, and they get slandered all over the place. Okay. That it just is the world you live in. But also, when you talk about what they're trying to do, they are trying to remake the world with universal basic income and a bunch of other stuff. They want the social credit scores. They want the digital IDs. They want to, you know, have one international cryptocurrency, blockchain based, and they're going to distribute funds based on all kinds of different things like your social credit score. And I wonder what's going to contribute to that. They're all, hey, you're up to date on your jabs, right? I'm like, actually, I'm not. And I got fired from my job because of it. I was I was number one in the country on quota attainment, mid Q3, number one in the country out of like 16 reps. And they're like, yeah, you know, I mean, we found out that you were the only unvaccinated person on the team. And then I don't know, something happened, you know, 4 weeks later, we let you go, you know, here's a nice severance though. I mean, what, like, and we didn't even talk to your manager. We didn't even talk to we just randomly chose you. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. So like, I lost my job because of it. Okay. So like, what do you think? How do you think it's going to affect your social credit score, which will affect all kinds of things in the future when automation puts everyone out of work? Again, I just want to reiterate, this is what Jesse on Everything is like. This is the stuff that I talk about all day long on Jesse on Everything. So if you like it, go follow that channel. But so there are these people who don't really understand what's happening and don't care to actually look into it because they've announced it. This is not conspiracy theory. They are announcing that this is what they want to do. Okay. They're announcing it. People, they're not going to use the social credit scores to tyrannically force things down your throat. I mean, they literally fired 70,000 healthcare workers in New York alone. And if I'm a smart person that can kind of, you know, play the chess pieces a little bit, you got Cuomo, who's the hero of America. And then something happened, some big scandal with him, like putting his hand on the lower back of an aide, you know, and they were, oh, there's more accusers. It's like, what exactly did he do? They're all, he just made women feel inappropriate, you know, nothing super specific, but he's got to go. He gets ousted. The first action that the new governor takes is firing 70,000 unvaccinated healthcare workers. Geez, I wonder why they wanted to get rid of Cuomo. You know, really hard dots to connect. You know, like maybe as an example, Cuomo was like, yeah, I'm down with this other stuff you guys are doing, but I'm not firing 70,000 healthcare workers for not getting the shot. They're all, yeah, you are. He's like, no, I'm not. They're all, yeah, you are. You think you're powerful. You don't know what power is, dude. We will have you out of there. They got him out of there. Boom. This tyrant chick that they put in there, 70,000 gone. So anyway, I've jumped ahead. Okay. So group two are the people who are aware of this stuff. They understand, but the intention behind it, they believe, is just they're evil. Like they're just evil and they're consolidating power. That's it, right? Like that's the motivation behind what they're doing. Okay. So I fall into the third category, which is I absolutely know that this is happening. I don't believe that their intentions are just evil, because I know that outside of a very, very, very small group of people that are psychopaths, most people need to tell themselves a story that makes them the hero of their movie. Okay. They can do horrible things, evil things, if they can tell themselves it's for the greater good, right? They're the good guy. Look, this is terrible, but it's necessary. Listen, yeah, it's awful, but it's necessary. Because underneath, humans don't actually care about other people that they don't know. They just don't. People don't care about people they don't know. That's why it's so important. It's why it's so important that we have a strong country where, like, the kneeling for the flag stuff is not something that's promoted by the mainstream media as good. That's not promoted by TikTok telling young people that that's good. Okay. Because ultimately we know, any of you guys know what it's like in other countries, right? Pick a country in the Middle East that has any kind of conflict going on. You know the atrocities that happen there. Do you think about it? Is it something that you think about day to day? No. It's not because you're a bad person. It's because human beings objectively do not care about other people they don't know. If they can't see it, they don't care. Okay. And so to people like this who control the whole world, they're no different than us. Okay. They're like, to them, they're like, oh, this is a problem that needs to get solved. And geez, if we end up, banishing 10 million people because of blah, 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 it's necessary. It's necessary, man. It's necessary. And so I think that is where they're at. I think that they think what they're doing is necessary, and they might be right, because look, automation is going to put the entire population out of work. Okay. The job that I got fired from, okay, where I was #1 in the country, I was structuring deals between my company and huge companies that are automating. They're going into automation. They're getting rid of humans. I can't talk, like, most of the projects I worked on are very non-disclosure agreement that can't be talked about. But I can tell you this, in some of the cases, I worked with like the biggest companies in the world. You're talking about projects where when they become mature, you're putting, it's impossible to even, imagine all human work being replaced by an iRobot. Okay. I sold into that actual project. Okay. That's coming. What does society look like? They have to remake the world. Okay. The climate thing, I don't know, dude. I don't know. I know that all the coral's dying. I know that we're, fishing all the fish out of the ocean. Does that mean that everybody should be mandated to get injected with things? I don't have any idea what that has to do with it. That's my entire point. It's like, okay, well, anyway. So the bottom line, though, is these people that I'm talking about, they cannot have a bunch of Andrew Tates running around indoctrinating the young boys to be strong, independent, and to push back against this stuff. That is the biggest threat to these groups, is a group of young, strong men all marching in the same direction. That's why Andrew Tate is such a huge danger to them. Him and many others. They slandered Joe Rogan as a racist because he platformed a couple doctors who pushed back on the Pfizer jab, which ended up being, every single thing they said ended up being true. So the idea that it's impossible that Tristan and Andrew are being basically set up is ridiculous. Now, is it possible that they completely did? Of course, they might have done it. But I believe him on this thing from April. I believe his story. I might be a sucker, but I believe it. Which means that this next thing, if they're, now human trafficking again, and we found victims. Really? How'd they do Cuomo? How'd they do Cuomo? We found a bunch of, we found victims. Weird how you always end up finding them. What's the accusation? He stroked my bottom. He stroked my bottom at a fundraiser. Okay, whatever. He talked in my ear too close. All right. And then And don't get me wrong, there are real predators, like dudes, obviously. But the Cuomo thing stinks of exactly what I talked about. But yeah, I mean, and then like you look at the again, Jesse on Everything is where this normally would be. Jesse on Everything. But you look at like the story that like, hey, look, you can hate Trump, right? I'm not like some huge Trump guy at all. But when they were doing the hearings and they got that girl who was an aide who came in and she's like, yeah, he threw his plate against the wall and there was ketchup everywhere. You're like, what? Like Donald Trump, he threw a plate of ketchup against the wall. Okay. You know, and then the people who were there are like, that never happened. She's like, yeah. And then he was driving away and he jumped in the front of the limousine and grabbed the wheel and was trying to jerk it around to take him back to the Capitol on January 6th. And then the driver and the agents, everyone there is all that just did not happen. That is a complete and total lie. It's like, oh, you're not going to call them? You're not going to call them to the stand? Okay, so where'd they find this girl to tell that story? Okay, that's what I'm saying. They can come up with they can come up with people who will say whatever. Or have been locking girls and chaining them to a computer. Who knows? But I believe him on this story, which really makes this suspect. But again, I'm not like, just because it could be that they're getting set up doesn't mean that they are. If they're victimizing women and trafficking them, let them rot, dude. Let them rot. But I've seen no evidence of that at all. And anybody who says that they thinks that they have like a really strong opinion on what actually happened here, this is just objective. It doesn't matter if you think that they're guilty or you think that they're innocent. If you are confident enough to yell at someone about it, like he did it, you're an idiot, because no one can know whether they did it or not because no one's seen the evidence. You're just being emotional, whichever side of the fence that you're on. Okay. I have no idea if he did it. None. I have no idea if they did it. Anyway, that's what I got. Jesse on Everything is the channel for you. If you like this one, if you made it this far, you should for sure go follow Jesse on Everything and subscribe to this channel if you don't mind. And Instagram and Twitter, Real Jesse on Fire, and Swag It. Peace.